there were some really significant moments in history when Black people had those signs that kept them from getting out into public lands or public pools. But even through that codified exclusion of getting into outdoor spaces, Black people still persisted. There are places like Martha's Vineyard, Oaks Bluff, Lake Ivanhoe, Lincoln Hills, places where people found their joy and their justice in outdoor experiences. And in those locations were guides and outfitters and hotels and restaurateurs, and it occurred to me that these were early contributors to the outdoor economy as we knew it. And so much of my work and the kind of organization that I form absolutely stands on the shoulders of that tenacity. But yes, indeed, we know that there have been bad things that have happened in the woods. We have a living generational memory of those folks who can recall the plaintive lyrics of Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, blood on the trees and blood on the root. But we have the opportunity to, again, tell a new narrative and define our healing and transformation so that those memories of terror become more and more distant. And then, certainly we've been challenged over the last few years. People have taken to the streets, and this photo is actually from 2016 when Ferguson erupted, and people were taking to the streets. And I'll never forget, leaving my office, and I'm hearing the helicopters already overhead in Oakland. People were already boarding up their businesses with plywood. And I asked myself, I'm like, what am I to do in this moment as a Black woman leading a Black organization focused on getting people outside? And the answer came to me so clearly. You do nature, Rue. That is your lane. And so the next day, I got on the phone with our local Outdoor Afro leaders and some of our partners, and we organized our very first healing hike. And when we got into that nature, that redwood bowl where we began, I could just see and experience people's stress falling off of them. And not everybody thought the same thing, not everybody, we were all different ages, different generations, but when we got into that redwood bowl, we were one. And as we started, winding ourselves down into the trail, where there were no helicopters overhead, no police in riot gear, our footsteps and our laughter filled the forest. And as we got down to the stream at the bottom of that trail, I recognized that we were actually doing what Black people have always known they could do, and that is to lay down our burdens down by the riverside. And we've been doing healing hikes ever since. For any reason. Sometimes it's just for people to find healing through something they're going through personally, or maybe it's something societal, but that is now a part of our teaching journey for Outdoor Afro volunteers. And then we're also responding to the sad reality of Black children who are drowning at 6-7 times of their white peers, ages 5 through 17. And so we committed in 2009 to teach every child in our sphere of influence how to swim, because I know, thank you. Because I know, we all know that if a child doesn't know how to swim, they're not gonna put a pole in a lazy lake. They're not gonna ease into a tippy kayak, and they're certainly not gonna care about the problem we face of plastics in our ocean. So, thank you. And this is what it looks like. You know, it looks like families who can do more together. Knowing how to swim is absolutely a gateway drug, if you will, to nature. And seeing nature is very important to us. It's not about just traipsing through the woods, but we want to identify our birds, our plants, our trees, and be in relationship with these places, and to take the time to get to know them. And multi-generational experiences, similar to how I grew up, are so important. Having beginner hikes for families with small children so they can learn what to bring and how easy it can be. And it gives these families a new tool in their toolbox for what to do when they may have some family time together. And then we also have a policy cohort just to help people understand how the government works. I mean, we're not out, advocating for any particular thing, but helping people to know that they can access their elected officials, who are often very happy to hear from us when we do our Hill Days. And then I hiked with Oprah, so I'll tell you all about that later. And I've also, in 2020, my father's passed many, many years, but I felt like this was part of the story that needed to be told, and so much of my work is a tribute to him. So I became a born-again hunter in 2020, and it's been a fantastic way for me to just be more responsible for my food that comes to the table. And like I did with Outdoor Afro, I brought some folks together to learn how to do the same, called the Black Heritage Hunt. So we've learned a lot over the years, as you've heard, and one of the things, of course, is relevancy, making sure that the experiences that we offer people really, make sense for their lives and that they're accessible in their lives. And then leadership, oh my goodness, like this idea that we've got to send our kids to the experts in order to learn about nature, we totally disrupted that and have really helped to restore outdoor leadership back to the home, just where I learned it. And then finally, this work is so much about a long view. It is about generational change. And I'm so thankful for the ways that since 2009, when I started this conversation, so much has changed. It's not necessarily a parade down Main Street or confetti falling from the sky moment. It's more quiet than that. It's that moment where you look up and you see people outside in proportion to their population and their opportunity, and it's no big deal.